The Dragon's Cave. In a far-off land, there lived a kind and generous princess named Liana. Liana loved all creatures big and small, but there was one creature that always fascinated her: dragons. One day, while exploring the outskirts of her kingdom, Liana stumbled upon a hidden cave. Inside the cave, she found a magnificent dragon with shimmering green scales and bright red eyes. The dragon introduced himself as Drake and welcomed Liana into his home. From that day forward, Liana visited Drake every day, and they became great friends. She would bring him fruits and vegetables to eat and listen to his stories of far-off lands and adventures. But one day, Liana noticed that Drake seemed sad. She asked him what was wrong. And he told her that he was the last of his kind and feared he would never find a mate to start a family with. Liana was determined to help her friend, and she went on a quest to find another dragon. After traveling for days, Liana finally found a female dragon, Luna, who was also looking for love. Liana brought Luna to the cave, and Drake and Luna fell deeply in love. They soon had a family of young dragon hatchlings, and Liana became like a second mother to them. Years passed, and the dragons grew bigger and stronger. They would often go on adventures with Liana, protecting her from harm and helping her defeat evil magical creatures. In the end, the kingdom prospered under their watchful eye, and Liana was happy to have found such loyal and brave friends in the dragons. And so, the legend of the Dragon's Cave became known throughout the land, inspiring generations of children to be kind to all creatures, big and small. The Dragon's Sacrifice. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there was a great dragon named Flame. Flame was the most magnificent and fearsome dragon in all the land, but he was also kind-hearted. Unlike other dragons who enjoyed causing destruction, Flame only caused chaos when he was provoked. One day, a group of knights came to the kingdom to defeat Flame and claim his treasure. Flame had no choice but to defend himself, and in the process, he destroyed a few buildings in the village. The people were furious and demanded that Flame be put to death. But the king knew that Flame was a noble creature and decided to give him one chance to redeem himself. He declared that Flame would have to protect the kingdom from an evil sorcerer who was planning to attack the kingdom with his army of dark creatures. Flame accepted the challenge and went on his way to defeat the sorcerer. Along the way, he met a young orphan boy named Jack. Jack wanted to help Flame defeat the sorcerer, and so he joined him on his journey. Together, Flame and Jack faced many challenges, but they never lost hope. They finally arrived at the sorcerer's castle, where they faced a fierce battle. Flame's fire breath destroyed the sorcerer's army. But the sorcerer managed to capture Jack. Flame realized that the only way to save Jack was to sacrifice himself. He flew straight into the sorcerer's castle, burning everything in his path and freeing Jack. Jack watched in awe as Flame's powerful flames took down the castle and the sorcerer. After the battle, the kingdom was saved, but they mourned the loss of Flame. They realized that he was not just a dragon, but a true hero who sacrificed his life for the greater good. From that day on, the village erected a statue of Flame to honor his memory and his bravery. And so, the legend of Flame the dragon lived on as a tale of sacrifice, courage, and true heroism, inspiring generations to come. The Little Dragon and the Great Adventure. Once upon a time, in a far-off magical land, there lived a little dragon named Sparky. Sparky was unlike any other dragon. He was not fierce or scary, but instead, he was kind and gentle. He loved to spend his days exploring the land, meeting new creatures, and learning about the world around him. One day, Sparky decided to venture further than he ever had before. He flew over mountains and across oceans until he finally came to a dark and mysterious cave. As he approached the mouth of the cave, he heard a loud growling noise coming from inside. Determined to find out what was causing the noise, Sparky took a deep breath and entered the cave. Inside, he found a huge dragon, much larger than he was, with a menacing look in its eyes. Sparky tried to befriend the other dragon, but it was mean and wouldn't listen. Suddenly, The large dragon lunged at Sparky, ready to attack. But, to everyone's surprise, Sparky's gentle nature caused the larger dragon to stop in its tracks. Sparky talked to the dragon and discovered that it was angry because it had lost its family. This made Sparky very sad. And he knew he had to help the dragon find its family. Sparky set off on a journey to help the dragon find its family, and along the way, they encountered various challenges and obstacles. They climbed steep mountains, crossed raging rivers, and faced many other dragons. But Sparky's kindness and gentle nature helped them overcome every challenge they encountered. Finally, after weeks of searching, they found the larger dragon's family. The huge dragon was overjoyed, and as a thank you, invited Sparky to come live with him and his family in the cave. Sparky agreed, and from that day on, he lived happily with his newfound dragon family. And so, Sparky's bravery and kindness had not only helped him find a new home, but it had also shown that even the fiercest of dragons could be tamed with love and compassion. From then on, Sparky was known as the little dragon who had a heart of gold, and he lived happily ever after. The Dragon Tamer. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a young girl named Ava. Ava lived in a small village and had always dreamt of being a dragon tamer. One day, she decided to set off on an adventure to find these magical creatures. As she journeyed through the forest, she came across a fiery red dragon who was stuck in a trap. Ava knew that this was her chance to prove herself as a dragon tamer, so she bravely approached the dragon. At first, the dragon was wary, but as Ava got closer, he realized she meant no harm. With her quick thinking, Ava managed to free the dragon from the trap, and in return, the dragon promised to show her his home. As they flew through the sky, Ava couldn't believe the beauty of the dragon's home. She also met other dragons who were amazed by her bravery. However, their happiness didn't last long as an evil witch captured all the dragons, including the one Ava had saved, and kept them in a dark cave. Ava knew she had to save them and asked her friends in the village for help. Together, they made potions and spells to help her defeat the witch. As Ava entered the cave, she found the witch who was guarding the dragons. With her friend's magic, Ava transformed into a dragon and battled the witch. Ava used her taming skills to talk to the dragons and convinced them to join her in the fight against the witch. Soon, the witch was defeated, and all the dragons were free. The villagers cheered as Ava brought back the dragons to their home. Ava realized that she had finally become a dragon tamer, and her dreams had come true. From that day, Ava and the dragons lived happily ever after, soaring through the skies and protecting the kingdom from harm. And so ends the tale of the Dragon Tamer, a story of bravery, friendship, and magic that will be told for generations to come. The Dragon Princess and the Lost Kingdom. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, lived a beautiful princess named Liera. She was known for her bravery and kindness. One day, while exploring the kingdom, she stumbled upon a hidden cave. Inside the cave, she found a tiny dragon who had been abandoned by its mother. Liera took the dragon under her care, and they became best friends. The dragon, whom Liera named Sparky, grew quickly and developed wings. Liera was amazed and delighted by her new friend's ability to fly. One day, Sparky told Liera about a lost kingdom that was in trouble. The kingdom was ruled by a great dragon who had become greedy and selfish. He had burned down villages and taken over the resources of the land. Liera knew that she had to help the lost kingdom, and Sparky offered to fly her there. They journeyed through dark forests, over tall mountains, and across treacherous rivers until they finally arrived at the lost kingdom. The great dragon saw them coming and swooped down to attack them. But Liera was not afraid. She had brought with her a special sword that had been gifted to her by her father. The sword glowed brightly as Liera wielded it, and she struck the great dragon with all her might. The dragon roared in pain and retreated back to his lair. Liera and Sparky met with the people of the Lost Kingdom and learned about their struggles. They promised to help the kingdom find peace and prosperity. Liera used her diplomacy skills to negotiate with the great dragon and convinced him to share the resources of the land with the people of the Lost Kingdom. And so, the Lost Kingdom was saved, and Liera and Sparky became legends in the land. The people of the kingdom honored them with a feast and crowned Liera as the Dragon Princess. From that day forward, Liera and Sparky were inseparable and continued to help those in need throughout the land. And so, the tale of the Dragon Princess and the Lost Kingdom became a favorite bedtime story for children everywhere, reminding them that even the smallest creatures can make a big difference in the world. The Dragon Knight and the Magic Crystal. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there lived a brave knight named Andrew. He was known throughout the land for his courage and strength. One day, the kingdom was threatened by a fierce dragon that had awoken from its slumber. The dragon was destroying everything in its path, burning houses and crops, and terrorizing the people of the kingdom. The king summoned all the knights to fight the dragon, but none of them were strong enough to defeat it. Andrew, however, was determined to save his kingdom. He set out on his horse, armed with his sword and shield, to confront the dragon. When he found the dragon, he realized that it was not just any dragon, but a magical one. The dragon spoke to him in a deep voice, "You are brave, young knight. But you will never defeat me. I am the guardian of the magic crystal, and no mortal can possess it." Andrew knew he had to find a way to defeat the dragon and obtain the magic crystal. He traveled far and wide, seeking advice and guidance from wise old wizards and powerful sorcerers. Finally, he met an ancient wizard who told him the secret to defeating the dragon. The dragon's only weakness was the sound of music. If Andrew played a beautiful melody on his flute, the dragon would fall into a deep sleep. Andrew practiced his flute day and night until he perfected the most beautiful melody. He rode back to the dragon's lair, ready to face the fearsome beast. As soon as Andrew started playing his flute, the dragon began to yawn and eventually fell asleep. Andrew crept up to the dragon and took the magic crystal. He held it up high, feeling its power course through his veins. The kingdom was saved, and the people cheered for their brave knight. Andrew became a legend, known as the Dragon Knight who defeated the most fearsome dragon in all the land. From then on, Andrew received many more quests to accomplish, and he never failed to overcome them all. But every time he looked at the magic crystal, he remembered his greatest quest. The one that made him a hero and a legend forever. The Dragon Riders. Once upon a time, in a far-off land, there were two best friends named Lily and Jack. They lived in a small village at the foot of a mountain range where dragons roamed freely. The villagers had learned to coexist with the dragons, but Lily and Jack longed for something more. They dreamed of riding on the backs of these magnificent beasts. One day, as they were wandering through the forest, they stumbled upon a secluded glade. In the center of the clearing, there was an old man with a long white beard who beckoned them closer. He introduced himself as the Dragon Master, and offered to teach them the ancient art of dragon riding. Over the next few weeks, Lily and Jack learned everything there was to know about dragons. They discovered that these creatures were not just savage beasts, but intelligent beings capable of communication and companionship. Finally, the Dragon Master felt they were ready to embark on their first dragon ride. As they soared above the clouds, the wind rushing past them, Lily and Jack marveled at the breathtaking views surrounding them. They flew over mountains and valleys, rivers and lakes, and even caught glimpses of other dragon riders in the distance. But their peaceful ride was cut short when they spotted a group of rogue dragons attacking a nearby village. Lily and Jack knew that they had to act fast. With the Dragon Master's guidance, they led a squadron of dragon riders into battle. The fight was fierce. Fireballs and teeth clashed in a flurry of chaos. But Lily and Jack's bravery inspired their fellow riders, and together they emerged victorious. The rogue dragons were vanquished, and the village was saved. From that day on, Lily and Jack became renowned dragon riders, traveling across the land to defend the innocent and protect the ancient bond between humans and dragons. And as they soared through the skies, they always remembered their humble beginnings, and the wise words of the dragon master: the truest magic lies not in the power of dragons, but in the courage of those who ride them. The legend of the fire dragons. In a far-off kingdom, there lived a kind and brave king named Edmund. Edmund had 3 daughters, each more beautiful than the next. They lived in a magnificent castle, with vast gardens, and a sparkling lake that stretched as far as the eye could see. One day, while the princesses were playing near the lake, they saw a strange red light glowing from a cave high upon the mountains. Curious to know what it was, they went to investigate. To their surprise, they found a dragon inside the cave. But this wasn't just any dragon, it was a fire dragon, with bright red scales that shone like rubies in the sun. The girls were terrified, but the dragon looked sad and lonely. So they decided to befriend him. The princesses soon learned that the dragon was once a powerful king himself, but a wicked sorcerer had cursed him and turned him into a dragon. He couldn't break the curse, and so he was forced to live in isolation in the mountains. Over time, the princesses grew to love the fire dragon and visit him often. They even taught him how to play games and dance. The dragon was happy for a while, but his heart still longed to be human again. One day, while the princesses were visiting the dragon, they noticed that he was suffering from a terrible illness. They knew they had to do something to help him, so they set out on a quest to find a cure. They traveled far and wide, through dark forests and over treacherous mountains, until they finally found an old wizard who knew how to break the dragon's curse. He gave them a potion that would turn the dragon back into a human, but only if he drank it willingly. The princesses returned to the cave and gave the potion to the fire dragon. At first, he was hesitant, fearing that the potion might make things worse. But with their encouragement, he drank it down. To their great joy, the dragon slowly transformed back into a human king. He was overjoyed to be reunited with his kingdom and his people once again. And as a reward for their kindness, he made the 3 princesses his queens, and together they ruled the kingdom with fairness and love for many years. From that day on, dragons were no longer feared or hunted in the kingdom. The people learned to live in harmony with them, and the fire dragon became a symbol of the dragon's quest. Once upon a time in a far-off kingdom, there was a young and fearless princess named Isabella. She had always been captivated by stories of dragons and their magical powers. One day, the kingdom was threatened by a wicked sorcerer that had taken over the nearby towns and villages. In order to defeat him, Isabella knew she must seek out the help of the mightiest dragon in the land. Setting out on her quest, Isabella traveled through dark forests and treacherous mountains until she finally reached the dragon's lair. It was a magnificent sight to behold, with the dragon perched atop a mountain, its scales glistening in the sun. Isabella approached the dragon with caution. But before she could say a word, the dragon spoke. "I have been expecting you, young princess. What brings you to my lair?" Isabella explained the situation to the dragon, and without hesitation, it agreed to help her defeat the sorcerer. The dragon led Isabella to the sorcerer's castle, where they found him lurking in his throne room, surrounded by his minions. With the dragon's powerful breath and Isabella's quick thinking, they were able to outsmart the sorcerer and defeat him once and for all. And as a reward for their bravery, the dragon granted Isabella the gift of flight, allowing her to soar through the skies alongside the majestic creature. From that day forward, Isabella and the dragon became the protectors of the kingdom, battling any threats that came their way. And the people of the kingdom would tell their children the story of the princess and the dragon who saved them from certain doom, inspiring the next generation to be just as brave and fearless as Isabella. And so, the kingdom lived on in peace and prosperity, all thanks to the courage of a young princess and her dragon ally. The Dragon's Quest. In a land far, far away, there lived a mighty dragon named Drackle. He had scales as black as the night sky and eyes as red as rubies. Drackle had grown tired of his life living alone in a cave and decided to embark on a quest to find a new home. Drackle traveled through forests and over mountains, facing challenges and dangers along the way. He encountered other dragons who tried to stop him on his quest. But Drackle fought bravely and defeated them all. One day, he came across a beautiful kingdom with lush green fields and sparkling blue rivers. But the kingdom was under attack by an evil sorcerer who had summoned an army of monsters to take over the land. The people of the kingdom were helpless against the sorcerer's dark magic until Drackle arrived. He swooped down from the sky and breathed fire onto the army, causing them to scatter and run away. The people were grateful to Drackle and welcomed him with open arms. They built him a magnificent castle and made him their protector. Drackle was finally happy, for he had found a new home and a new purpose in life. Years went by and Drackle grew old, but he had lived a long and fulfilling life. He had protected the kingdom from countless attacks and had become a beloved figure to the people. As he lay dying, the people of the kingdom mourned him and remembered him as a true hero. And even after he was gone, the legend of Drackle, the mightiest dragon of all, lived on in their hearts and minds. And so, children, remember that even the fiercest creatures can have a kind heart, and that true heroes are never forgotten. The Dragon's Quest. In the enchanted land of Magica, dragons roamed free. They were majestic creatures with wings that spanned across the skies and fire-breathing mouths that could melt mountains. For generations, they had lived in harmony with the other inhabitants of the land. However, one day, a wicked sorcerer appeared, and everything changed. The sorcerer hated dragons and wanted them gone from the land. He concocted a plan to kidnap the king of dragons and demand that the others leave Magica forever. The king was captured, and the dragons were left in disarray. They knew they had to rescue their leader, but they also knew that they couldn't do it alone. It was then that a young girl named Lily came forward. She wasn't afraid of dragons, and she had heard of their plight. Lily had a love for adventure and was determined to help the dragons. She went on a quest to find a magical sword that was said to be able to defeat any enemy. Lily traveled through treacherous mountains and murky swamps, facing many obstacles along the way. She fought off ferocious beasts and outsmarted cunning thieves. At last, she found the Sword of Legend. When she returned to the dragon's lair, the sorcerer was waiting for her. He had grown impatient with the dragons and was about to launch an attack. With the magical sword in hand, Lily charged towards the sorcerer. They battled fiercely, and at last, the sorcerer was defeated. The dragons were free once more, and Lily was hailed as a hero. She had saved the king of dragons and brought peace back to Magica. From that day forward, the dragons and humans lived in harmony, thanks to the bravery of one young girl. And so, the story of the Dragon's Quest was passed down through the ages, reminding everyone to stand up for what is right and to always have courage in the face of adversity. The Dragon Knights. Once upon a time in a far-off kingdom, there were two dragon knights named Leo and Maria. They lived in a magical land where dragons roamed freely, and the people of the kingdom were protected by the great beasts. Leo and Maria were the bravest knights in all the land and were known for their extraordinary dragon riding skills. One day, a giant dragon appeared in the kingdom and started causing havoc and destruction. The villagers were scared, and even the other dragons were afraid to confront the beast. Leo and Maria knew they had to act fast to stop the dragon from causing more harm. They summoned their own dragons and set off to face the giant dragon. When they reached the monster, they saw that it was at least 3 times their size. But Leo and Maria were brave, and they knew they had to take the giant dragon down. The fight was intense. The giant dragon breathed fire and flapped its wings furiously, while Leo and Maria dodged and weaved through the air, trying to find an opening. At last, they saw their chance and took it. With their swords in hand, they plunged them deep into the giant dragon's heart. The giant dragon let out a mighty roar and fell to the ground, defeated. The villagers cheered as Leo and Maria emerged victorious. They had saved the kingdom once again, and the people knew they could always rely on the dragon knights in times of trouble. From that day on, Leo and Maria were hailed as heroes, and the other dragons respected them even more. They continued to ride their dragons around the kingdom, protecting the people from any threats that came their way. And so, the kingdom lived happily ever after, safe under the watchful eyes of the dragon knights, the brave prince and the enchanted dragons. Once upon a time in a far-off kingdom, there lived a brave prince named Andrew. He was known throughout the land for his courage and kind heart. But one day, a great darkness fell over the kingdom, as an evil sorcerer cast a spell that enchanted the dragons living in the mountains. These dragons began wreaking havoc, destroying everything in their path. The king of the kingdom called upon all the bravest and strongest warriors to slay the dragons and save the kingdom. Prince Andrew knew he had to help and set out on his trusty steed, Arthur, to find the dragons and put an end to the chaos. As he climbed up the mountain, Andrew met 3 different dragons. The first dragon, a fiery red beast, challenged Andrew to a game of riddles. If Andrew could guess correctly, the dragon would show him the way to the sorcerer's lair. Andrew was smart and quick-thinking, and after guessing right, the dragon kept his promise and showed him the way. The second dragon, a beautiful blue creature, requested Andrew's help in removing a thorn from its paw. This kind gesture proved to the third and most fearsome dragon, a massive black beast, that Andrew was not like the other warriors who had come to harm them. The black dragon revealed that it was the sorcerer who had cursed them and gave Andrew the key to his lair. Andrew entered the sorcerer's lair and faced off against him in a fierce battle. With the help of his newfound dragon friends, he was able to defeat the evil sorcerer and break the enchantment that had been placed on the dragons. From that day on, Prince Andrew was known not only for his courage but also for his kind heart, having shown that even the most fearsome creatures can be won over with compassion and friendship. And the dragons, grateful for his help, roamed the kingdom as protectors and friends to all its citizens. The Dragon Princess and her adventure to save the kingdom. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a beautiful dragon princess named Lyra. She was known for her kind heart and bravery. Lyra's kingdom was once a peaceful place with lush green forests, flowing rivers, and vibrant flowers everywhere. But one day, an evil sorcerer arrived, bringing darkness and destruction to the once happy kingdom. The sorcerer had a powerful amulet that controlled dragons to do his bidding. He used the amulet to enslave the dragons and make them attack the kingdom, causing chaos and destruction. The people of the kingdom were frightened and didn't know what to do. They prayed for a miracle. One day, Lyra went for a walk by the river and saw a group of baby dragons playing. She noticed that they were all chained up and couldn't fly. Lyra approached them and asked why they were chained. The baby dragons told Lyra about the evil sorcerer and how he controlled them with the amulet. Lyra knew that she had to do something to save her kingdom from the sorcerer's wrath. She made a plan to sneak into the sorcerer's castle to steal the amulet. Lyra prepared herself for the mission and flew to the sorcerer's castle under the disguise of a baby dragon. Once she reached the castle, she found the amulet and tried to grab it. But just as she was about to leave, the sorcerer caught her. He was furious and ordered his dragons to attack her. Lyra fought bravely, but she was outnumbered. Just then, all the baby dragons Lyra had rescued earlier came to her rescue. They attacked the sorcerer's dragons, giving Lyra the chance to escape with the amulet. Lyra thanked the baby dragons and used the amulet to free all the dragons from the sorcerer's control. The next day, Lyra and the dragons attacked the sorcerer's castle. They fought fiercely and eventually defeated the sorcerer. The kingdom was saved, and people started to rebuild their homes. Lyra was hailed as a hero and was loved by all. She had not only saved her kingdom but had also freed the dragons from the sorcerer's grasp. From that day on, Lyra became known as the Dragon Princess who fought bravely to save her kingdom. And she lived happily ever after with her dragon friends, flying across the beautiful kingdom. The Dragon's Secret Garden. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, lived a brave prince named Jacob. He had heard of a secret garden hidden deep in the forest, guarded by a fierce dragon named Blaze. Many knights had tried to enter the garden, but none had returned. Determined to find the garden, Jacob set off on his horse, with his trusty sword by his side. After many days of traveling through the dense forest, Jacob finally came face to face with Blaze. "Who dares to enter my lair?" roared Blaze. "I am Prince Jacob, and I have come to seek the secret garden," replied Jacob bravely. Blaze was impressed by Jacob's courage and decided to test him. "Very well, if you can defeat me in a battle, I will allow you to enter the garden," said Blaze. With a fierce roar, Blaze lunged at Jacob, spewing flames from his mouth. Jacob dodged the flames and slashed his sword at Blaze. The dragon backed away, impressed by Jacob's fighting skills. From that day forward, Blaze and Jacob became friends, and the dragon led him to the secret garden. The garden was filled with beautiful flowers, fruit trees, and a sparkling stream. It was more magnificent than Jacob could have ever imagined. As he wandered through the garden, Jacob noticed something strange. The plants were wilted, and the stream was dry. He realized that the garden needed water, but there was no way to bring it there. Suddenly, Jacob had an idea. He asked Blaze to help him fill his helmet with water from a nearby stream and then pour it over the plants. Blaze did as he was asked, and soon the garden was thriving again. Jacob spent many happy days in the secret garden with Blaze, and together they tended to the plants and played games. They were the best of friends, and Jacob knew that he would always have a loyal dragon by his side. Years later, when Jacob became king of the kingdom, he built a castle in the forest and invited Blaze to live with him. The dragon happily accepted, and together they created a beautiful kingdom filled with love, friendship, and magic. And so, the tale of Prince Jacob and Blaze the Dragon's Secret Garden became a legend in the kingdom, spreading joy and happiness for generations to come. The Dragon's Quest. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a young girl named Lily. She was known for her bravery and her love for adventure. One day, while out in the forest, she stumbled upon a dragon who was caught in a trap. Despite her fear, Lily approached the dragon and freed him from the trap. The dragon was grateful to Lily and wanted to repay her kindness. He told her of a great quest that he had been on for years, to find the enchanted crystal that would grant all his wishes. But the crystal was guarded by a powerful sorcerer who lived in a far-off land. Lily, being the adventurous girl that she was, offered to help the dragon in his quest. And so, they set off on a perilous journey, through thick forests, across roaring rivers, and over treacherous mountains. As they traveled, they were followed by a band of mischievous goblins who wanted to stop them from reaching their goal. But with the dragon's fiery breath and Lily's quick thinking, they were able to outsmart the goblins and continue on their quest. Finally, they arrived at the sorcerer's castle. The sorcerer was a wicked man who had been hoarding the enchanted crystal for himself. But with Lily's bravery and the dragon's strength, they were able to defeat the sorcerer and claim the crystal. The dragon was overjoyed and granted Lily one wish. But Lily, being a selfless and kind-hearted girl, wished for the dragon to be free from his curse of being trapped in the mortal world. And so, the dragon was able to return back to his home in the enchanted forest, free to fly and roam as he pleased. Lily returned home, proud of the adventure she had been on and the new friends she had made. And from that day on, the people of the kingdom spoke of her bravery and her kindness, knowing that Lily was truly a hero. The Dragon's Treasure. In a far-off kingdom, there was once a magical land called Dragonia. It was home to countless dragons who had lived in peace with the humans for many years. These dragons were different from the ones described in other fairy tales. They were gentle and kind, and had never caused harm to anyone. One day, a young prince named Marcus stumbled upon Dragonia while he was on a hunting expedition. He was amazed by the beauty of the dragons and the warmth of their community. However, there was one dragon who stood out from the rest, a majestic creature named Sapphira. Marcus was in awe of Sapphira's elegance and strength. Sapphira could sense the young prince's affection for her and decided to take him under her wing. She taught him everything he knew about the dragons and the enchanted land of Dragonia. As time went by, Marcus grew to love Sapphira more than anything else in the world. He wanted to show his appreciation for all that she had done for him. So, he decided to embark on a quest to find the dragon's treasure, a legendary collection of precious jewels that were said to be hidden deep within Dragonia. Sapphira warned Marcus of the dangers he would face on his journey. But the young prince was determined to find the treasure. He bravely set out on his adventure, facing challenges and obstacles along the way, and made many friends among the dragons. Finally, after many days of searching, Marcus found the dragon's treasure. It was more magnificent than he had ever imagined, a dazzling array of diamonds, rubies, and sapphires that sparkled in the sunlight. With the treasure in hand, Marcus returned to Dragonia, where he presented it to Sapphira as a token of his gratitude. Overwhelmed with emotion, Sapphira thanked Marcus for his devotion and sincerity. From that day on, the people of Dragonia and the humans lived in harmony. Sapphira and Marcus became inseparable, and together they ruled over the land with wisdom and compassion. The legend of the dragon's treasure lived on, serving as a reminder of the wondrous bond between humans and dragons. And so, the kingdom of Dragonia remained a magical place where the dragons roamed free, and the humans lived in peace, a true testament to the power of love and friendship. The Dragon and the Lost Princess. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, lived a young princess named Sophia. One day, while taking a walk in the forest, she stumbled upon a fierce dragon named Draco. Instead of running away in fear, Sophia approached the dragon with caution and kindness. Draco was surprised by Sophia's bravery and gentle nature. He had always been feared and avoided, but her kindness touched his heart. Sophia and Draco became unlikely friends and spent many afternoons exploring the forest together. One day, while Sophia and Draco were out on one of their adventures, they came across a group of evil witches. The witches had captured the prince of Sophia's kingdom and held him captive in their castle. Sophia and Draco knew they had to act quickly to save the prince. Draco led Sophia to the castle where the prince was held captive. The two of them worked together to sneak past the witches' guards and rescue the prince. With their mission accomplished, Sophia, Draco, and the prince made their way back to the kingdom, where they were greeted as heroes. Sophia and Draco's friendship proved that kindness can conquer even the fiercest of creatures. From that day forward, the people of the kingdom no longer feared dragons and instead welcomed them with open arms. And so, Sophia and Draco lived happily ever after, spending their days exploring the forest and going on new adventures together. The Brave Knight and the Three Dragons. Once upon a time, in a world where dragons roamed and breathed fire, there lived a brave knight named Sir William. He was known throughout the kingdom for his courage and bravery. One day, a messenger arrived at the castle with news that 3 dragons were terrorizing the nearby village. Sir William immediately set out on his horse to face the dragons. As he approached the village, Sir William saw the 3 dragons lying in wait for him. The largest dragon, the red one, lunged forward, spewing flames from its mouth. But Sir William was ready. He drew his sword and charged towards the dragon, dodging its flames. In a swift move, he struck the dragon's head, killing it instantly. The 2 remaining dragons, a blue one and a green one, saw their comrade fall and retreated to a nearby cave. Sir William pursued them, determined to rid the village of the dragon menace. Inside the cave, the blue and green dragons were waiting for Sir William. The blue dragon breathed out a gust of icy wind, but Sir William wasn't deterred. He swung his sword and slayed the blue dragon. The green dragon was now the last of its kind. It breathed out a cloud of poisonous gas that made Sir William cough and choke. But the brave knight refused to give up. He took a deep breath, held his sword tightly, and charged forward. In a final battle, he plunged his sword into the green dragon's heart, killing it instantly. Sir William emerged from the cave victorious. The villagers cheered his name, grateful for his bravery and courage. From that day on, Sir William was known as the Dragon Slayer, and he lived happily ever after. And the 3 dead dragons were never seen again. The Dragon Prince and the Magical Quest. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom known as Dragoria, there lived a dragon prince named Zephyr. He was a kind-hearted dragon who always wanted to help others. One day, while he was flying over the kingdom, he spotted a group of children in distress. They were crying because they had lost their way back home. Zephyr flew down to the ground and asked them what happened. The children told him that they had followed a magical butterfly, which had led them deep inside a forest. But now they couldn't find their way back home. Without a second thought, Zephyr offered to help them find their way back home. The children were overjoyed at this offer and happily agreed to follow him. As they were walking through the forest, they stumbled upon a wicked witch. She was known to be the most evil creature in Dragoria, and she had been causing trouble for everyone in the kingdom. The witch demanded that they give her the children, or else she would cast a spell on them. But Zephyr stood his ground and refused to let the witch harm them. In a fit of rage, the witch summoned her army of dragons to attack Zephyr. But he was not afraid. He unfurled his mighty wings and breathed fire to defend himself and the children. The battle was fierce, but Zephyr fought with all his might. Eventually, he defeated the witch and her army of dragons. The children were safe, and the kingdom of Dragoria was finally free from the witch's reign of terror. From that day forward, Zephyr became a hero in the eyes of the people of Dragoria. His bravery and kindness inspired others to be like him, and he lived happily ever after. The Dragon's Diamond. In the land of Fantasia, there was a beautiful castle that belonged to a queen. She was a wise ruler who always had time for her people and was loved by all. However, one day, an evil sorcerer came to her kingdom. He was jealous of her power and coveted the diamond that the queen wore around her neck. It was said that whoever possessed the diamond would be granted eternal youth and a life of riches beyond measure. The sorcerer demanded that the queen give him the diamond, but she refused. Angered by her defiance, he summoned a dragon to attack the castle. The dragon, named Ember, had been under the sorcerer's control for years and was a fierce creature with fiery breath and sharp claws. Ember descended upon the castle, scorching everything in his path. The queen knew she had to act quickly to save her kingdom. She called upon the bravest knights of Fantasia to fight against the dragon. But no matter what they tried, they could not defeat Ember. He was too strong and too fast, and he seemed to be invincible. Desperate for a solution, the queen went into the forest one night to seek the help of the ancient dragons. These were the wise and kind creatures who had lived in the forest for centuries and were known to have magical powers. The queen pleaded with them to help her defeat Ember and save her kingdom. The ancient dragons listened carefully to the queen's plea and, after much discussion, decided to help her. They knew that Ember was under the sorcerer's control and that they had to break his hold on the dragon to defeat him. The ancient dragons cast a powerful spell that weakened the sorcerer's control over Ember. The queen and her knights then attacked Ember, and after a long and fierce battle, they finally defeated him. The sorcerer fled, and peace was restored to the land. As a reward for their bravery, the ancient dragons granted the queen and her people eternal youth and riches beyond measure. The queen returned to her castle wearing the diamond, which now shone brighter than ever before. And Ember, now free from the sorcerer's control, joined his fellow dragons in the forest. From that day on, the people of Fantasia knew that they could always count on the dragons to protect them from harm, and they lived in harmony with these magical creatures for many years to come. So the next time you look up at the sky, the dragon twins. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there were 2 dragons named Torque and Tark. They were twins, but they were very different from each other. Torque was brave and adventurous, while Tark was timid and shy. One day, Torque decided to go on an adventure. He flew to the nearby town, where he met a group of children playing in a park. At first, the children were afraid of him, but Torque managed to win them over with his friendly personality and playful nature. Tark, on the other hand, stayed behind in the safety of the mountains. He didn't like leaving his comfort zone and didn't see the point in taking unnecessary risks. Days turned into weeks, and Torque continued to visit the children in the park every day. He would play games with them, tell them stories, and even let them ride on his back. Tark watched from afar and felt left out. He wished he could be as brave as his brother and make friends with the children too. One day, a wicked witch came to the town and started wreaking havoc. She was on a mission to capture all the children and turn them into her slaves. The children were terrified and didn't know what to do. Torque knew he had to act fast. He flew to the mountains to get Tark's help. Tark was scared at first, but when he heard about the children in danger, he realized that he needed to be brave for their sake. Together, the dragon twins flew back to the town and fought the wicked witch with all their might. In the end, they managed to defeat her and save the children. The children were overjoyed and grateful to Torque and Tark for their bravery. They realized that even though Tark was timid, he had shown tremendous courage when it mattered most. From that day on, Tark was no longer afraid to leave his comfort zone. He joined Torque on his adventures, and together, they became known as the Dragon Twins who saved the children from the Wicked Witch. And so, the town lived happily ever after, knowing that they had two mighty dragons looking out for them. The end. The Dragon Keeper's Daughter. Once upon a time, in a faraway land lived a young girl named Alara. She was the daughter of the Dragon Keeper, who took care of the dragons in the kingdom. Alara grew up surrounded by the majestic beasts, learning about their magic and ways. One day, while playing in the forest, Alara stumbled upon a small dragon who was lost and scared. She quickly befriended the little creature and took it under her wing. The dragon had been banished from his clan for being too small and weak to protect them from their enemies, the dark dragons. Alara knew she had to help the dragon find his way back to his family. She set out on a journey with her new friend, facing many dangers along the way. They crossed treacherous forests, climbed steep mountains, and even encountered the dark dragons. But Alara was brave and resourceful, and with the help of her dragon friend, they were able to overcome every obstacle. They finally arrived at the home of the small dragon's clan, where they were met with suspicion and hostility. The leader of the clan was a large, fierce dragon who believed that weakness should not be tolerated. But Alara stood up for her friend, telling the clan that it is through kindness and unity that true strength is found. The clan eventually recognized Alara's wisdom and accepted the small dragon back into their fold. From that day on, Alara became known as the Dragon Keeper's Daughter, a symbol of hope and kindness in a world full of danger and darkness. She continued to befriend dragons and spread her message of love and unity all throughout the kingdom. And so, the dragons of the land and the people of the kingdom lived in peace and harmony, thanks to the courage and kindness of one young girl, the Dragon Princess. In a far-off kingdom, there lived a young princess named Aurora. She had long golden hair and mesmerizing blue eyes. One day, while taking a walk in the forest, she stumbled upon a group of baby dragons. Upon seeing them, Aurora's heart melted with compassion, and she decided to take care of them. As days passed, the princess grew fond of her little friends and soon became an expert in the art of dragon taming. She learned their language and trained them to fly high and breathe fire. One day, as Aurora was out hunting with her dragons, they came across a wicked witch who sought to capture the princess and turn her into a toad. The dragons, sensing danger, immediately took action and breathed fire at the witch. However, the witch, being cunning, managed to put up a shield that protected her from the flames. The dragons were terrified, but Aurora, being brave, decided to face the witch head-on. The witch, impressed by Aurora's valor, decided to make a deal with her. She promised to leave the kingdom alone if Aurora gave her one of her pet dragons. The princess refused, knowing that the witch would not keep her word and that the dragons were like family to her. Outraged, the witch turned all the dragons to stone, leaving Aurora heartbroken. The princess, determined to find a way to bring her friends back to life, embarked on a quest to find a magical flower that could break the curse. After overcoming many challenges and facing dangerous creatures, the princess finally found the flower. She brought it home and used it to break the curse, freeing her beloved dragons from their stone imprisonment. From that day on, the dragons became known throughout the kingdom as the protectors of Aurora and her people. They flew high in the sky, breathing fire and keeping the kingdom safe from harm. And Aurora, the dragon princess, lived happily ever after with her loyal companions by her side. The brave dragon tamer. Once upon a time in a far-off kingdom, there lived a brave young girl named Lily. She had an unquenchable thirst for adventure and loved to explore the world around her. One day, as she was wandering through a nearby forest, she stumbled upon a dragon unlike any she had ever seen before. It was huge, with scales as black as night and eyes that glowed like embers. Lily was both awed and frightened at the sight of this majestic creature. Nonetheless, she decided to approach it slowly and cautiously. To her surprise, the dragon didn't seem hostile or aggressive towards her. Instead, it lowered its head and let out a low rumble. Lily took this as a sign of trust and decided to help the dragon. She noticed that the dragon's wings were torn and damaged. She immediately set to work, gathering supplies to mend its wings. For days, she patiently worked to heal the dragon's wounds. Finally, the dragon was well enough to fly again. It spread its enormous wings, and with a mighty roar, took off into the sky. However, before leaving, the dragon looked back at Lily and gave her a wink. From that moment on, Lily knew that she had found her true calling, to become a dragon tamer. Over time, Lily became a legendary dragon tamer, learning about their habits and customs. She traveled far and wide, making friends with all the dragons she met, and eventually became known as the Dragon Queen. The dragons listened to her every command and followed her wherever she went. Years passed, and Lily grew old and wise. One day, a group of evil knights arrived in the kingdom, determined to capture and slay all the dragons. The Dragon Queen knew she had to act fast to save her beloved creatures. She rode on the back of the mightiest dragon, and together they flew into battle against the evil knights. The fight was fierce, but with her unshakable bravery and expertise, Lily and the dragons emerged victorious. The evil knights were no match for their ferocity and power. After the battle, the kingdom rejoiced, grateful for the Dragon Queen's heroism. From that day onwards, dragons were no longer seen as terrifying beasts to be feared. They were respected and revered, just like any other creature. The Dragon Queen had shown that dragons could be trustworthy companions, and she had changed the world forever. And so, children, the Dragon Knight and the Magic Crystal. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a kingdom named Aragon. It was a peaceful land where people lived happily, surrounded by lush green forests, snow-capped mountains, and sparkling rivers. One day, an evil dragon named Zohor attacked the kingdom, burning down villages, destroying homes and crops, and terrorizing the people. The king of Aragon knew that he had to do something to save his kingdom from the wrath of the dragon. He called upon the bravest knight in the land, Sir Cedric, to slay the dragon and save the kingdom. Sir Cedric was a skilled warrior, but he knew that battling a dragon was no easy task. Sir Cedric set out on his journey to find the dragon. He wandered through forests, over mountains, and across rivers until he finally found the dragon's lair. As he approached the lair, the dragon roared fiercely and attacked him with its fiery breath. Sir Cedric fought valiantly, but the dragon's scales were too tough for his sword to penetrate. Just as Sir Cedric was about to give up, a wise old man appeared before him. The old man told Sir Cedric that the only way to defeat the dragon was to find the magic crystal hidden deep in the dragon's lair. The wise old man gave Sir Cedric a map that would lead him to the magic crystal. Sir Cedric followed the map, battling fierce monsters along the way, until he finally reached the magic crystal. As soon as he touched the crystal, he was surrounded by a bright light that transported him back to the dragon's lair. He raised the crystal high above his head, and the dragon was struck by its magic power, rendering it powerless. Sir Cedric cut off the dragon's head, saving the kingdom from its terror. The people of Aragon were grateful to Sir Cedric for his bravery and gave him the title of Dragon Knight. From that day on, Sir Cedric became the protector of the kingdom and was revered by all. And whenever a dragon threatened the kingdom, Sir Cedric would wield the magic crystal to defeat it and bring peace back to the land. And so, the Dragon Knight and the magic crystal became a legend that was passed down from generation to generation, teaching children about bravery, determination, and the power of magic. The Dragon and the Lost Princess. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a beautiful princess named Isabella. She was famous for her kindness and intelligence, and everyone loved her. But one day, while she was taking a stroll in the forest, she got lost. As she wandered aimlessly, she stumbled upon a clearing where a magnificent dragon sat. At first, Isabella was afraid, but the dragon noticed her fear and spoke gently to her. He explained that he was not going to harm her and offered to guide her back to the castle. Isabella was overjoyed and gladly accepted the offer. As they walked, the dragon told her about his life and how he had been ostracized from society because of his appearance. Although he was kind and gentle, people feared him because he was a dragon. Isabella felt sorry for the dragon and vowed to help him. She convinced the king and queen to meet the dragon, and they were amazed at his kindness and intelligence. They welcomed him into their kingdom, and he became a valuable member of society. Years later, when Isabella became queen, she appointed the dragon as her advisor. Together, they helped make the kingdom prosperous and happy. And although people still feared dragons, they learned to appreciate and respect them. From that day on, dragons were no longer seen as monsters, but as honorable creatures who could bring wisdom and good fortune to those who respected them. And so, the kingdom prospered, and peace reigned forevermore. And that is the story of how the lost princess found a friend in an unlikely place and changed the world for the better. The Dragon Prince and the Chosen One. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a fierce dragon named Drogath. Drogath was feared and loathed by the people of the kingdom, who always thought that he would only bring destruction to their land. One day, the king of the kingdom received a prophecy that a chosen one would come and defeat the dragon. The king sought out the bravest and strongest warriors in his kingdom, but none could match up to the might of the dragon. One spring morning, a young prince named Aaron set out on a journey to seek the dragon's lair. Many villagers tried to dissuade him as they believed it was a fool's errand, but Aaron was determined and brave. As he traveled through mountains and valleys, he met many magical creatures who helped him on his quest. He met a wise old wizard who gifted him with a sword that had been imbued with special powers. Finally, he reached the lair of the dragon. Drogath was surprised to see the young prince and challenged him to a duel. Aaron fought bravely, dodging the fire blasts and using his sword to strike the dragon's vulnerable spots. But just when it seemed like Aaron had won, the dragon roared and flew away. Aaron realized that the dragon was not evil, but had only been misunderstood. He decided to find the dragon once again, and this time, he came with an olive branch. The dragon initially refused to listen to Aaron, but eventually, he relented. They talked, drank tea, and shared stories late into the night. It turned out that Drogath had been guarding a magical secret that could help the kingdom prosper. The next day, Aaron and Drogath went back to the kingdom where they were received with open arms. The king was surprised to see the dragon alive and well, and even more surprised when he heard about the magical secret. Aaron had not only defeated the dragon but also made a new friend. From that day on, Aaron and Drogath roamed the kingdom, spreading joy and happiness. The people of the kingdom were no longer afraid of the dragon and regarded him as a protector. The prince had truly become a hero, and his tale would be told for generations to come. And so, the kingdom prospered. And the prince and the dragon lived happily ever after. The Dragon's Magic Forest. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a peaceful village surrounded by a thick and enchanted forest. The forest was home to many magical creatures, including dragons. The villagers were afraid of the dragons, believing they were fierce and dangerous beasts. One day, a little girl named Lily wandered into the forest while picking berries. As she walked deeper into the forest, she stumbled upon a clearing where a dragon lay sleeping. Lily was not afraid. She had heard stories of dragons protecting forests and being kind to children. The dragon woke up and saw Lily standing before it. Instead of breathing fire, it greeted her with a gentle smile and welcomed her to its home. The dragon showed Lily around the forest and introduced her to all the magical creatures it called friends. As she explored, Lily stumbled upon a beautiful garden filled with the most colorful flowers she had ever seen. The dragon explained that the flowers were enchanted and that they had the power to make wishes come true. Lily made a wish that all the villagers could see the dragon's true kindness and beauty. The dragon granted her wish and led her back to the village. When they arrived, the villagers were amazed to see such a majestic creature being so kind and friendly. From that day on, the villagers never feared the dragons again. They visited the magic forest often, and the dragons became their protectors and friends. And every time a child visited the forest, they made a wish, and the dragon granted it with its magical flowers. And so, the magic forest lived on, and the dragons continued to protect and guide all those who entered. The fire-breathing guardian dragon. In a land far, far away, there lived a powerful dragon called Flameheart. With scales as red as fire and eyes that glowed like diamonds, Flameheart was known as the guardian of the kingdom. One day, the king of the land came to Flameheart with a heavy heart. He told the dragon that an evil sorcerer had cast a dark spell on his daughter, the princess, and she had been kidnapped by the sorcerer's minions. Flameheart knew he had to act quickly. He flew off to the sorcerer's castle, where he found the princess trapped in a room at the top of a tall tower. The sorcerer had placed a curse on her, making her sleep forever unless a true hero could break the curse. Flameheart knew he needed help, so he called upon the other dragons of the land. Together, they formed a plan to defeat the sorcerer and break the curse. The dragons flew in a formation, creating a whirlwind that blew toward the castle. They breathed fire and scorched the walls, causing the sorcerer and his minions to flee in terror. Flameheart climbed the tower and found the princess. He knew that only a kiss from a true hero could break the curse. Brave and full of love, he kissed the princess, and the curse was lifted. The princess woke up, and Flameheart brought her back to the kingdom. The people cheered and praised the hero dragon for his bravery and kindness. From that day forward, Flameheart was known as the protector of the kingdom. And the princess loved him dearly. And whenever anyone asked about the greatest hero of the land, the answer was always the same: why, it's Flameheart, the fire-breathing dragon, of course. The Dragon's Apprentice. Long ago, in a land far away, there lived a young boy named Billy. He was known throughout the village for his love of dragons and his desire to one day become a dragon tamer. Billy would spend hours reading books about dragons and learning everything he could about them. One day, as Billy was exploring the forest, he stumbled upon a small dragon with purple scales and large eyes. Without hesitation, Billy approached the dragon and offered it food. The dragon accepted Billy's offering, and soon they became fast friends. As the days passed, Billy continued to visit the dragon and learn more about its ways. One day, the dragon asked Billy if he wanted to become its apprentice. Excited at the chance, Billy eagerly accepted. Under the dragon's guidance, Billy learned how to care for and train dragons of all shapes and sizes. They would spend hours flying through the sky and exploring new lands. Billy loved every moment of it. One day, while out on a mission to protect the village from an evil sorcerer, Billy and the dragon were ambushed. The sorcerer had summoned a giant dragon to attack them. Billy and his dragon fought bravely, but they were no match for the giant dragon. Just as they were about to be defeated, a group of friendly dragons appeared on the horizon. They had heard of Billy's bravery and had come to help. Together, they managed to defeat the giant dragon and save the village. From that day on, Billy was known throughout the land as the greatest dragon tamer of all time. And he always remembered the lessons he learned from his faithful dragon, who had taught him everything he knew about courage, loyalty, and the magic of dragons. And so, the legend of the dragon's apprentice lived on for generations to come, inspiring young children everywhere to dream big and never give up on their goals. The Dragon Tamer and the Enchanted Kingdom. In a far-off land, there lived a young girl named Sophia who had a passion for dragons. She spent most of her days reading books on dragons and dreaming about riding them through the skies. One day, as she was walking in the forest, she stumbled upon an injured dragon lying on the ground. Being an animal lover, Sophia immediately ran to help the dragon. She tended to his wounds using herbs and magic spells she had learned from her books. The dragon was grateful and promised to repay her kindness. The next night, the dragon appeared in Sophia's dreams. He told her of the enchanted kingdom where dragons roamed freely and lived in harmony with humans. However, the kingdom was in peril as an evil sorcerer had taken over and enslaved the dragons. Sophia knew she had to help save the kingdom and its dragons. She set out on a journey, accompanied by the dragon she had helped, and they faced many challenges on their way. They had to cross raging rivers, avoid treacherous traps, and fight off fierce beasts. But with courage and determination, they finally arrived at the gates of the enchanted kingdom. They found the kingdom in chaos, with dragons being forced to work day and night for the sorcerer. Sophia devised a plan to free the dragons and defeat the sorcerer once and for all. She used her knowledge of magic spells to create a powerful potion that would break the sorcerer's hold over the dragons. As the sorcerer watched in horror, the dragons broke free from their chains and flew into the skies, soaring higher than they ever had before. The sorcerer was defeated, and peace was restored to the enchanted kingdom. From that day forward, Sophia became known as the Dragon Tamer, and the dragons hailed her as their savior. She was welcomed into the enchanted kingdom and enjoyed a life filled with adventure and wonder, riding her beloved dragons through the skies. And so, the story of Sophia and the Enchanted Kingdom became a legend that parents told their children at bedtime, inspiring them to dream big and never give up on their own adventures in life. The Dragon Riders of Eldoria. In the magical land of Eldoria, where dragons flew freely through the sky and roamed the verdant forests, there lived a young girl named Lila. She had always dreamt of riding a dragon. And one day her wish was granted when she stumbled upon a small dragon with silver scales and piercing green eyes. The dragon, whom she named Silver, was injured and needed her help. Lila nursed the dragon back to health, and as a sign of gratitude, Silver allowed her to climb onto her back and take flight. From that day on, Lila and Silver became inseparable. They spent every moment together, flying over mountaintops, exploring hidden valleys, and witnessing majestic sunsets. However, their adventure was not without danger. One dark night, as they were soaring over the rolling hills, they noticed a group of dragons attacking a nearby village. The dragons were ferocious and breathed fire, burning everything in their path. Lila knew she had to do something. With Silver at her side, she set out to stop the dragons and save the village. They swooped down from the sky and engaged the dragons in a fierce battle. Despite being outnumbered, Lila and Silver fought bravely and managed to defeat the dragons. The villagers were overjoyed and grateful to Lila and Silver for their bravery. From that day on, Lila became known as the Dragon Rider of Eldoria. She went on many more adventures with Silver, stopping evil dragons from causing harm to innocent people. Lila's tale spread far and wide, and other young boys and girls were inspired to become dragon riders too. Together, they defended Eldoria against all threats, becoming legends in their own right. And so, the world of Eldoria was forever changed by the bravery and heroism of its dragon riders. The dragons were no longer seen as fearsome creatures but as partners in adventure and protectors of the land.